Here we are, right here for our fourth episode, right, Tyler?
Fourth one.
With Hayden Hidlay, or is it Hidlay? Hayden Hidlay.
Neither.
Neither, bro.
Hayden
Hidlay.
Hidlay and Kellen Devlin. So I am very excited.
No, Sam, you got it wrong.
Wait, so say it.
Hidlay.
Hidlay.
No, is it Hidlay?
Yes.
Thanks for telling me.
I think you would know.
Wait, so it's Hidlay.
Hidlay, right from the source.
Yes.
From the source.
Kellen, thanks for telling me. This is off to a great start. Got it.
Absolutely.
It can only go up from here, bro.
It can only go up from here. So I will introduce Hayden before he goes into his background. I mean, he's a four-time PA state qualifier, placed sixth, placed third, and then a state champ your senior year, right? For
Yep.
Mifflin County. A U23 World Team member, NCAA finalist as a redshirt freshman, and then placed fourth your redshirt sophomore year, right? Three-time ACC champion, and then my favorite accolade, the ACC Scholar Athlete and Wrestler of the Year in 2020. That's huge.
Yeah, I guess I got the whole package. I guess I can thank my mother for the academic side of things, but it was definitely a great year.
Yeah. And then we have Kellen Devlin.
Kellen over here. Not
Great.
to let Hayden take all
Great.
the shine. We got Kellen over here. He's a three-time New York D2 state champ as a sophomore, junior, and senior. Got a career record of 255-16, going 46-1 as a senior and 36-1 as a junior. He was a NHSCA Freshman Nationals runner-up. He got third as a sophomore, and he won it as a junior. And he also was two-time ACC Academic Honor Roll. So he's a smart man as well. Mm-hmm.
Don't act so surprised, buddy.
So here's a quick background of Kellen. So I have known Kellen since he was in about what, sixth or seventh grade. And yeah, I actually met Kellen at a wrestling club named Cobra in Buffalo. So yeah, that was how I met Kellen. And then, our families have been tight since. So yeah.
Like this.
All right. So, the both of you, let's start with Kellen, just like a small intro background of you.
All right, yeah. I can take it from there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as you guys may have already known, I wrestled in high school a little bit, found success, got recruited to North Carolina State. That's where I met Hayden, because from the start, we had to go right after graduation to our summer program. So our transition from high school to college was about 3 days long, and boom, went right into it. And we had to stay in the dorms for the first 5 weeks. And that's when I was paired up one-on-one with Hayden. And since then, Hayden's been my best friend on the team, and we rode out the next 4 years with each other. And then I had just graduated with my bachelor's in sport management, virtually, as you may know, about a month ago. And now I got hired as the sales manager of Brandell Painting and Services. So any local people in Western New York who are listening, we are not just painters. Remodeling, kitchen, bathrooms, pretty much do everything besides cut your lawn and pour concrete. So that's what I'm doing now. And now I'm in grad school too at night at Canisius College, working for my master's in physical education.
Canisius, home of the Griffins, right?
Look at you. Look at you. Look at you.
See that? I know every college mascot, man. All right, Hayden, hit us a little intro, a good little background setup.
Beat that, Hayden.
All right. Hayden Hidlay. I was born and raised in Lewistown, Pennsylvania. Started wrestling at the age of 6. That's kind of opened up a lot of opportunities for me so far in life. And so growing up, I went to Mifflin County High School. It's a very small and rural community. Lots of farming and there's a big steel company in our hometown. So that's kind of what the area around me is known for. I got the opportunity to go to NC State. And like Kellen said, we I formed a relationship with Kellen in high school because we were going to a lot of the same tournaments, and I knew he was a guy that I wanted to be around. And so our first summer, we made a lot of great memories there, and kind of learned a lot through that first month in college. I think everybody has some good experiences, but mostly bad in that first stretch. It's a lot of
Literally the most, yeah.
A lot of learning and realizing that you're not that cool as you think you are. And so Kellen and I experienced a lot of that, but just found a really great friend and person that I was going to be side by side with for the next 4 years in college. For me, my academics, I was a business administration major, and I graduated this spring with a concentration in human resources. And so now I've got 1 more year of wrestling eligibility, and so I'm going to be in grad school. I'm in the nonprofit management program here at NC State, and so I'll be a 5th-year senior and looking to finish it out strong.
Hell yeah, man! I think national title's coming. So I gotta ask Hayden, because I have gotten the pressure. I have been told to ask this. So first things first, was that a takedown on Jason Nolf? Because I think it was.
Yeah, I guess I've had to answer that question quite a bit, and my answer's pretty consistent. I did think I had a takedown, but ultimately I didn't win the match, and so it's kind of, it's not something I really look back on a whole lot. I know the situation, and do I think I had to? Yeah, probably, but there's a lot of matches I had to wrestle, and there's a lot of situations that I would have had to win to win that match completely. So I don't really have a whole lot of regrets about that.
Yeah. That was an.
I was there in person. That was a takedown.
Yeah,
I remember watching it and being like,
yeah, I was watching it live and thought it was a takedown as well.
Some bullshit.
Mouth.
Exactly.
No texting, Kellen.
So I guess my first question,
Okay, Mom.
for you guys
My hands right here.
would be, what drew you guys to NC State? Because I actually, back between like my 8th and 9th grade year, I remember going to old Bob Guzzo wrestling camp there that brought in, he was like Gable and like Bobby Weaver and stuff, but I like the campus a lot, and I was actually looking to go there to get a meteorology degree. So what kind of like brought you guys in? Like what part of it interested you guys the most?
For me, like they're starting with our head coach, New York native.
Papaluzio, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, better. So I mean, starting from him, that's a New York native. And then I was getting recruited at the time by our associate head coach, who coached at University of Buffalo, and I'm from Buffalo, Frank Beasley. So right away, I have New York roots, and both, I mean, two highest people. And then looking at the roster, there at the time when I was being recruited, there was 6 New York guys, whether they were the starter.
Was Sam Spino, right?
Yeah. Who ended up being, who's like one of my best friends to this day. So we got Spino, he had like 6 already. And I'm like, what other college and university can I go to where I have like personal relationships with? And this is a program too. When I committed, the next following year is right when I committed. The next following year was them beating Iowa, beating Okie State. I'm like, yo, these dudes are like my friends, people I've known like a long time. We have mutual friends, they know my family because they're from Buffalo. Anyway, now this college university, they're on a freaking tear, dude. And they're already going to the nationals at top 2. I go, it's a no-brainer. Give me the letter. I'll freaking sign it right now.
Yeah,
definitely.
So yeah, Hayden, how about you?
Yeah,
what,
so I think the personal relationship was big for me as well. And Kellen talked earlier about Frank Beasley, and he actually married a woman that was from my hometown. And so he was in Lewistown, Pennsylvania, a good bit. And so I was able to form a relationship with him at a young age, and I just always around him, and he was able to sell the program to me, in a way that related to me a lot. And I think whenever I just saw the guys on their team and, where they were from and where they grew up and the way that they work, it just felt very similar to how I grew up in a small town and just had that kind of blue collar, just, I don't know, gritty attitude, I guess, about working. And, I was able to see that the first time I went to campus and just saw those guys working out. and it was just a very, a very strong parallel to how I grew up, and I just felt like it was very easy to relate to those guys. And then you have all the added bonuses of once you actually get to campus, and the culture of Raleigh, and the obvious, not the winters aren't as terrible as they are in the Northeast, and it's just like there's a whole lot of added benefits to living in a city like that and getting education from a school that is on the cutting edge of innovation. So I feel like it was just a total package deal, and the fact that I was able to form those relationships through wrestling first meant a whole lot to me.
Yeah, and actually, here's a fun fact for y'all. If y'all don't already know this, Coach Beasley actually wrestled in college here at Lincoln College, where I'm coaching now. So that's pretty cool.
Bro, it's all intertwined. Ain't
Yes,
that something?
yeah, because listen, the sport of wrestling, man, is
Everybody's 1 degree away somewhere.
Yeah. So, Hayden, how was how was your youth? Like, how was it growing up, and like basically, how did you start wrestling?
So I kind of started wrestling more of through peer pressure than anything else. I grew up in a family that had nothing to do with wrestling. My dad played college football for Franklin and Marshall. He played golf as well in college, and my grandpa was a very big golfer. And so my dad just always had these experiences in sports, and was really good at basketball, baseball, football, just a total package. And my older brother was the same way. He was always really good at those sports, and he ended up playing football collegiately as well at Ursinus College. And so my family had this big background in sports, and it was just always, no matter what time of the year it was, you were playing sports at some level. And so growing up, I was probably 6 years old, and some of the buddies I used to hang out with in my neighborhood kind of challenged me to join the wrestling team, just as more of a joke, because my dad was known for, anything but wrestling. And so I figured I might as well blaze my own path doing something. And I just kind of showed up and just was actually really good at it from the start. And I think that was just a very surreal moment as a little kid to be able to go into an environment where, you can't really get picked on. You can kind of stand up for yourself, and it's like a one-on-one kind of thing. You don't have to really rely on a whole lot of other people. And so at a young age, I just was really drawn to that. And so that's kind of how I started in wrestling. And, it actually helps a lot too that I grew up in a very renowned wrestling area. Just because in central Pennsylvania, there's not a whole lot of, there's not a whole lot of things to do. Like everybody loves the Friday night football, but like, wrestling, for some reason, the winter is just a cultural phenomenon there. And so I grew up around 30 minutes from Penn State University. And so the infusion of like the college wrestling scene there, it carried over into high school. And so, growing up, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be odd for me to have a high school match that was in front of close to 1,000 people, probably more at some points. And so I think just growing up in the, rural area of central Pennsylvania, it's a big cultural thing to participate in wrestling. And so I was able to do that. And, I really kind of grew into that, even though my family had nothing to do with wrestling before that.
Yeah. And also, like, how was it wrestling in probably what is the toughest wrestling state? Because, like, I mean, most people don't realize, like, listen, I coached in, like, PA for 3 years at a high school team. And, man, those region and the state tournament is unlike anything. And man, PA is a wicked tough sport.
Yeah, even going back to like the youth scene. I tell this to a lot of people. I think it's a funny story now. Growing up, I lost to Spencer Lee in the youth state tournament 3 times. I lost to Vincenzo Joseph another year. And just the guys you look back and lost to are guys that are becoming national champions. And it's just such a tough road to find success sometimes. And I kind of felt that in high school in a way, just because, my first 3 years, I'm winning and placing pretty high at these national tournaments, but I could never break through and win a state title until my senior year of high school. And it's just a crazy kind of experience, because I won Fargo before I won a state title. I won Flow Nationals before I won a state title. And it's just, the list goes on and on. It's a humbling experience, to say the least, but it does get you prepared for the next level, I think.
Yeah. And, have you, like, play any other
Hayden.
sports in high school or no?
What's up?
What, Kellen?
Oh, sorry, you guys cut out. Yo, you brought that up. Isn't that crazy that you were a top 10 overall recruit and you're a one-time state champ?
Yeah, I guess I guess so.
That's
It's
freaking wild, dude.
yeah. I think I was the number 8 recruit or something like that. I
Pound
just
for
won
pound,
the
number
state
8,
title.
and
Yeah.
that's insane, dude.
And it is all like because Flo knows how tough the state of Pennsylvania is, and they're like rankings are favored towards PA as they should be. So yeah, Hayden, like any baseball or football or track in high school, or just strictly wrestling.
Let's see. I ran 1 year of cross country in my freshman year of high school, but I actually grew up. I played football and baseball outside of wrestling season up until I was in 8th grade. Most of the reason was just because I was so small. I actually wrestled at 113 for my freshman year of high school, so I was actually pretty small back then, and I just kind of saw the beatings I was taking out in the football field. It wasn't worth it at that point, and my brothers growing up, I could see how good they were in those sports, and I just wasn't at their level, and I just kind of figured if I could make my own name in doing it, was going to be in wrestling. And so I started concentrating more on freestyle and Greco in the off seasons. But, I did do like 1 year of high school cross country and actually kind of got good at that. But I do have a love for running. I do that quite a bit actually. And so that was a lot of fun. I didn't see there wasn't a whole lot of, success that translated from doing cross country. I didn't think it helped out in wrestling as much as people said it would. So I didn't do that after my freshman year.
All right, well, yeah, let's let Kellen chime in and start asking him some of the stuff.
All right, Kellen. What so going back to when you first started, what kind of like made you fall in love with wrestling, and what kind of like got you into the sport early on?
Bro, I don't think I ever did love the sport.
Hey, at least you're honest though,
No, I'm kidding, dude. Maybe I don't even know when, but I got into it just because it's great. Like I had 2 older brothers that wrestled, but they had started their freshman year of high school just as like an arbitrary sport just to jump into, even though you actually don't see that often. Wrestling isn't really just like a put the cleats on type of and have fun. Yeah. But they did. But since they're so much older than me, when they were a freshman, I was like 5 years old. So when they started wrestling, I started wrestling. That's the only reason I translated to have so much success. I had been on the mat 4 times as long as them. And they had great success for only the 4 years that they had done it, 4 months out of the year for 4 years. Yeah. So I just ran with it, was exposed to it a lot, did a lot of off-season wrestling. Got to carry away. Maybe I started falling in love with it around, 6th grade, right before in New York, you can hit high school and varsity wrestling in 7th grade. And, I think that's right around I kind of rolled with it and just kind of started peeling away a little bit from the group and realized maybe I do have a talent in this because I'm not very athletic in other sports. I can't do much.
Oh, trust me, I have seen that, man. Your hands in football are stone.
Yeah, I get it. But we can move on. So you don't even believe it, dude. Sam, you think you see me be unathletic? Now imagine me going to a Division I program, top 10 program.
Yeah.
Surrounded by 30 other of the 1%ers.
Yeah.
And then see how unathletic I look compared to the rest of our team.
I can only imagine.
Bro.
Kellen was a notorious last round pick for any handball game.
Oh, Kellen.
It was bullshit. Dude, one of my last games I ever played, Hayden picks me first round.
Nice job, Hayden.
Nice.
That's inclusion, dude. That's a nice line. That's a nice line.
Yeah. My favorite Kellen memory, just like overall any kind of like athletic movement is, like the first thing that you learn is the step 1 is to keep your eye on the ball. And then like the next thing is like whenever you're throwing a ball, you always want to just like step forward. I've never seen Kellen throw a ball whenever he wasn't throwing off his back foot. It was like he'd get the ball and then he would get so nervous about having his hands, he'd like be like running backwards and then just throw it up in the air. It looked ridiculous.
Oh, I can totally picture it. That's hilarious.
That's great.
Uh,
Fuck, I made do, dude.
huh?
I made do with what I had.
That's
Yeah.
right. So would you say that your brothers were probably like your biggest inspiration to like coming through?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love them to death, but did I? I don't know if I don't know. Yeah, they're the reason I got into it. I never really classify them as my inspiration. I just classify them as my older brothers that I love. And
Yeah.
I guess if I put myself back in those shoes, yeah, I would say, yeah, I did inspire to be like them. So maybe that's why I jumped in. But I don't know at that time. I just came home with a flyer. You know, they passed it out during kindergarten. I remember I was in kindergarten, like, hey, join the youth thing in the fitness center. We're gonna roll out a section of mat or something. And then my
Yeah.
brother, I'm like, oh, this is the thing you're going to do too, right? So we all jumped in. So maybe they inspired me.
Gotcha.
So I guess this is kind of for the both of you. So in your humble opinion, what separates NC State from all of the other programs in the country? And I'll start with Hayden.
Thanks. Okay, cool.
I think there's a lot of team culture that has to do with it. I don't think there's a whole lot of programs out there that utilize, every person of the team as much as we do. Whether it comes to the team meetings that we have, and it's like almost like a separate entity where we can talk shop and we can come up with ideas and propose them to the coaches. And, a lot of the times we've implemented those strategies under our team. And I think that's one thing that just separates us is we have that team culture, and we're able to regulate it from within. We're able to keep guys that don't belong in the team out, and we're able to hold each other to a pretty high standard just with the culture that the coaches set for us. And so there's a whole lot of autonomy, I guess, in terms of, we can make decisions as a team, we can hold the guys accountable as a team. And we've actually proposed some of those solutions to the coaches, and they've ran with it. And so I think there's not a whole lot of teams out there in the country that have that level of focus as a group. And I think that we just overall just have, we take a lot of input from everybody in the team. It doesn't matter if they're a support staff, if they're in, strength and conditioning, or they're a backup, or they're a top 10 guy in the lineup every week. I feel like we are all contributing in some way, and that's a team culture that, not a lot of people have, I think.
And that was an awesome answer. Whew, Kellen, hit us with it.
How do I follow that up? I don't know. Probably we're the best team in the country because we got a lot of New Yorkers.
Oh, that's why. Not.
I don't know how to be. I don't know how to say it any more humble.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line.
Because of the great state of New York.
Tell you what, New York has been really good to pack wrestle. If you look back over the years and add up all the team points, I think they would have the most just because Gwiz had like 40 team points a year.
I forgot about Gwiz.
Yeah. So, I mean, they definitely have.
And Donnie's a New Yorker, and we're ran by Pat, who's a New Yorker. You think I'm trying to be funny? Thank the state of New York for North Carolina State.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, that is actually pretty wild to think about now. Wow. Stacked with them.
Yeah, huh? Whatever. BA's the best.
Honestly, Pennsylvania is the toughest wrestling state. And being from New York, it kills me to say that. But listen, I have experienced it coaching, man. Those kids just wrestle their ass off. And listen, the first round of states is like literally a finals match in any other state. Like it's
okay, we get it. You love PA. You love PA.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so this is also for the both of you. Let's talk about diets in season and out of season. Like is there a big change in your guys' diet, or is it like a year-round consistent thing?
Who starts?
Whoever wants to.
About time I get some respect.
Okay, sorry.
Dude, I am the worst when it comes to dieting. I was the worst weight cutter. I got the weight off of me, but I sucked at it. But the weight came off. The number was on the scale, but I felt like shit. Did it the wrong way. I tried to do it the right way, so don't listen to me. Hayden was disciplined, ran the adequate amount of miles needed. So pass it off to him and take some notes.
All right, I'm gonna pass the torch off to Hayden to answer this question.
For me, I think one of the things that I see in college athletes and wrestlers in particular that, I think they struggle with the fact because in the off season they train at a weight that's way heavier than they do in season. And so it's like, I've seen so many guys, burn themselves out because in the off season, we've had guys that have been 125 or 33 pounders that have been wrestling with me. And then during the season, they'll never wrestle with me. They're down at a lower weight. And for some guys that works well. I just thought for me, I just wanted to be as consistent as I could throughout the year. And so I never get above 170 throughout the entire year. And even during the season, I'm right around 170-ish or a little bit lighter. But right now, I bet I'm only 167, 168.
Really?
And yep. Yeah. So I think it's just, I like to train at that weight and I don't like to see myself get above that. And so, if that means that I have to run a little bit in the off season, I'm going to be fine with that because I do enjoy it at some level. I know people don't like it. But I try to get during the season, I try to be at, 14, 12 to 14 miles a week. And that's not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but one of the things Pat has taught us is if you're going to be a guy that has to run to cut weight, then you better be able to have your legs under you, and you got to be able to do it on a consistent basis. And so I run on a pretty consistent basis, so I know my legs can hold up for it whenever I'm cutting weight during the year. And I just have a system set during the season where I know what I need to be at on a certain day. I know what I need to be at, when I wake up on a Friday morning, whenever I dual meet at 7:00. I just have this all in my head, and I know the system, and I know what I'm going to eat down to the last tenth. And so it's a lot of work, but on the back end, I'm able to perform really high on a 1 hour weigh-in. And I just know that that's a big advantage for me. And so I use that as more of an asset and I don't worry about it a whole lot because I know that I'm in a good situation. And just like strength or speed or your mental acuity in a match can be, a positive for you. I just always used my ability to cut weight the right way as more of an advantage rather than something that everybody has to go through.
Yeah, so I guess, really, how do you stay competing at such a high level, Hayden?
You mean just like in general, how do you compete like on given the circumstances of everything?
Yes.
I just take a lot of pride in doing everything the right way. Whether that's doing the little things like keeping my academics in check or, the way that you properly cut weight. Like I just look at those little things that keep adding up into a big chunk of your game. And I take a lot of pride in doing that each and every day. And so if I'm taking pride in, the little things, there's a good chance that when the big thing comes around, then I'm going to be able to compete at a pretty high level. And so, if you add up all the little things you do and you just kind of push them to the side of where you feel confident in, or you feel like you don't have to worry about a whole lot of them, I feel like it's really easy to go out there and compete in, tough environments or whenever the stakes are at the highest. I just feel like I've done enough in every category that, I'm not worried about, what bad things can happen in a match. I'm more focused on, all right, I've been here, I've trained this particular area. And so I feel like I'm covered if things get bad.
Yeah, man, that was honestly an awesome answer. That was great. Spot on. So now Kellen can chime in.
What was the question?
How do you stay competing at such a high level, Kellen?
I don't.
Well,
I don't. I never really competed. I trained my butt off during the practice room, but I never found success really competitively on the mat. But I mean, I guess that happens to some people. I never really saw.
Yeah.
So when I look back at
happened, yeah. To me,
I don't really like to think about my college experience. I don't really like to look back at those 4 years. When I do look back at those 4 years, I just think about the people that I met, the relationships I made, the place I got to go, the things I got to experience. But I don't like to look back at the wrestling aspect.
That's funny because honestly, I think the same way. Like for some reason, I don't like looking back at my 4 or 5 years at Borough And I hate making excuses, but I like went there with like AJ Schott, Mitchell Port, and Dave Habit, and I was always a backup for 4 years, and it kind of messed with me mentally and emotionally and physically. I'm just getting turned all the time and taken down. But yeah, I mean,
Sammy.
honestly, I am kind of in that same boat to where I really don't like looking back because I like feel like I failed when really did I? Maybe.
Dude,
not.
I feel the same way, bro. And like that's why I don't like to think about my college wrestling. Like when Tyler introduced me, yeah, I was great in high school, and then it goes, and then it's like silent and no college accolades, and I just have. That's why when people ask me about wrestling and stuff, I make a little joke like, yeah, I made varsity, and I move on from the subject. But I was talking to Hayden. Hayden did I want to share this with you, Sam. Hayden spoke at our graduation, our virtual graduation.
Yeah.
And he read me the speech beforehand. And I wasn't even trying to blow smoke up his ass. Like something really resonated with me. I wrote on a sticky note and I put it on my mirror. But Hayden put it like at the end of his speech, he says how he had a quote for somebody that somebody told him a quote. And it was, if you're driving in a car on the road and you're constantly looking in the rearview mirror, what's going to happen? So all I try to do now, and I was like, damn, hey, that's legit. That's some deep shit. And that is personal to me. So all I try to do is I look forward to tomorrow, and I'm gonna be a better version of myself tomorrow as a person. Like, I'm not a wrestler anymore, so I'm just gonna try to improve as an overall person.
That is an awesome story, Hayden. That is a pretty
I told the story.
Well, I mean, it's cool. It was a great story from you, but it's cool what that Hayden thought of you, because
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those situations where there's very few people you trust in those circumstances, and like I wasn't a very outspoken person in terms of like all the athletes at NC State, and so whenever they asked me to do the graduation speech for all the athletes, and I was like, all right, am I really getting the full story of what it was like to be an athlete here? And because it's different. I mean, I was in a completely different situation than Kellen was for those 4 years, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes where what I do is not anywhere near able to be happening if it wasn't for the guys that are behind the scenes pushing us. And so that's what happens, I think, a lot on like at the D1 level. You've got, a lot of people don't know that, but we've got 35 guys on the team, and 10 guys only go at the chance at postseason. Yeah. But when I look back, the first people I talk about in terms of the team environment was just the guys that were there for me every day. And so even Kellen was 3 weight classes lower than me, but he was a guy that was always willing to step in whenever I needed a partner, and he was the guy who was always willing to push it. And guys like Sam Malikian as well, those are the guys that I'm definitely going to remember. And so even though that's not like a glamorous role in the team, it's one of those things that where I hold in like really high regard, just because they're the guys that I'm sharing my frustrations with, or they're the guys that I'm asking advice from, just because they know me really well. And even though that they're not the guys that are out there competing in terms of the postseason stuff, they're the guys that are the unspoken kind of heroes of it all, because they keep everything in line that needs to keep in line. And a lot of people don't get to see that on a daily basis.
Yeah, that is so true. And,
true.
and in the college practice room, just having a like good practice partner, man, I just feel like that is key. Like with somebody that's always there, always shows up, is like always drilling hard with you. I think that is a huge factor. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
No, it's a peaceful thing to know too, because you get to the point later in the year where you're not fighting tooth and nail for every point, and you're not going against the best guys every day. Like, I know once like I'm starting to get in my groove, like I don't need to be wrestling guys that are going to kick my ass. And it's like I need a guy that knows me and knows what I'm trying to work on in that moment. And so I've had like 2 or 3 guys where I know that in those last few weeks of the season, I just want to go with them, and I just need to – they know what I need to train and how I need to get better. And yeah, you'll wrestle a guy like sparingly that's like really a hard feel, and it'll give you what you're going to feel like at NCAAs. But I mean, at that point, you need to be with a guy where you feel comfortable with, and that's where people don't see in on those kind of things and those nuances behind the scenes. And so I've always had 3 or 4 guys where I can definitely go to and be like, all right, that's the guy I'm going to wrestle with today, because I know that he's going to push me in a way that's going to keep me safe. And also, he knows me well enough to see what I need to get better at.
Yeah, absolutely. That was very good. Ty?
Yeah, I mean, I think they explained it very well. I mean, that was kind of, ended up being like my experience with it too. Was kind of, I had these high expectations for myself going in, and then things happen. You end up kind of taking a back seat, but you're still kind of there as like a support role for whoever the starter is. And so I can kind of like relate to Kellen on that. With you're still in the room, you're kind of just helping out whoever you can help out in that situation.
Yeah. And I feel like with me and Kellen especially being so good in high school and like having such high expectations from friends, from family, and going into college with such high expectations, and like I don't want to say failing, but just not performing to what I thought the both of us could do or would do. And at the end of the day, I'm a good person. I am happy where I am. I am coaching a college team, and I can't look back. That quote from Hayden is very good. And like now, for some reason, that quote just sits well in me now.
Dude, it's a good one.
Yeah, it really is. So, Hayden, after hearing about COVID and the national tournament being canceled, what were like your first thoughts?
I mean, first thoughts is just, it was very sad. It was really just like a gut-wrenching moment, not only just because, my dreams kind of went up in smoke, but I was right there with my younger brother, and it was just like in that situation, he kind of looks to me to figure out what to do. That's how it's always been. We've always been together, and it's always been a friendship, closer than what anything you have growing up. It's just a special bond between the two of you. And I tried to find words to say to him to figure it out, but it's, there's not a whole lot you can figure out in that moment. It's just more of like, wow, this is pretty much, you got to file it under the category of life sucks sometimes, and you just got to take that punch. I mean, that was the first thoughts. It's just like, I looked around at my teammates, and, it wasn't even the 10 of us that were, ready to go to nationals. It was 15, 16 guys. I looked around, and you got these guys that you see every day just through the blood and the sweat, and then next thing you know, there's tears everywhere from these guys, and it's a tough feeling to kind of go through, because you want to be a leader for those guys, but just a very vulnerable moment. And to see everybody react the way it did, it's just not a whole lot you can say. And I was thankful that the coaches were there for us, and they kind of walked us through it all. But I mean, those are one of life's lessons where you don't find a whole lot of words for, and you can't really find the positives out of it. But it's just one of those things you go through in your life, and that's how you learn from it, is through time. And, as time progresses, you kind of start to put some pieces together and, come up with these, theories of motivation that you can use, to learn from it in a way.
Yeah. And, once that news did break, man, I felt terrible for all the athletes and the coaches that have worked so hard over this 2019 and 20 season. It was heartbreaking.
It was some bullshit.
Kellen. Oh, is Kellen frozen?
No, bro, I'm just chilling.
Sitting really still.
Yeah, I like it. It was like a statue.
Bro, I do look like I'm sculpted.
Oh God!
You said it.
Right into that, didn't I?
You said it.
Well, listen, I didn't mean like a Greek god statue. I meant like a gargoyle, just kind of sitting there.
I'll take the former.
Yeah, Kellen came in with his words of encouragement after I give a heartfelt message about how horrible it was. He comes in with, it was bullshit, and then freezes up.
If I listen anymore, you're gonna make me tear up.
Well,
That was heart wrenching, dude. I remember being in that room. It was so eerie. It was the most uncomfortable.
I bet.
Fucking no one had something. You looked at, like Hayden said, like he had Trent looking to him. Words of encouragement. Everyone was, even our head coach. Even from Pat, it was everyone's in their most vulnerable state they've been in probably, if not in their entire life. And everyone's looking left and right, and nobody was really the shoulder to lean on. We just all had to be. Even me, who was packed it in, I wasn't even wrestling, and then even me, I was.
Were y'all like in practice? Because I know like I was listening to Flo and they're talking about like some people were actually like in practice whenever they like got the news and stuff. So y'all like in practice already when y'all got the news?
No, we were outside. We had an off day. I'm pretty sure, Hayden, right? But I know we were outside.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What we did that day was we had practice in the morning, and then they were basically in the afternoon. We were going to have a team meal, and so beforehand they're just like, all right, just show up. We're going to go outside and play games. We'll just do like spike ball, kickball. We're playing that stuff, and through all that, all of us just had this sick feeling in our stomach, like, wow, this is not good.
Yeah.
And so they finally called us in. We had the meeting and told us it was over, and the coaches, the last thing they said to us was, we already have the dinner ordered, so we might as well go out. And so all of us as a team went out to dinner.
That probably helped.
I remember that, dude. We had a freaking.
That probably helped.
Yeah, and all of us just like we ordered a bunch of soda too, and so it was just like so super funny because we were sitting there eating like of what would have been like fuel for the next week of training, and just like getting us in like a good state as a team, just clicking on the right page. But instead, it just turned into a sulking session where we're all drinking Mountain Dew and shit like that.
God, I love my Mountain Dew, man. What's your favorite flavor?
I do like the original, but like the other versions, I really like Voltage a lot.
I love Voltage
I'm
too.
a big Voltage fan.
Yeah, the Voltage is incredible, and so I've had a few Voltages since the end of the season, but I'm for the most part I like the original.
Yeah.
What about you, Kellen? What's your favorite go-to soda?
Blue Moon.
That's a beer.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
Sorry.
Look at Hayden dying.
Sorry. Yeah, you said soda. Diet Pepsi.
Okay.
Diet?
Dude, and people go, diet. Where's the? I strictly just say diet because I just think it tastes better. I think
Really?
diet. I just think at least in the Pepsi and like Coke, yeah, I like Diet Pepsi and Diet Coke better than the originals.
Actually, I do have a cool story from that. So like I was one of those guys that was kind of like judgy towards Kellen because of that. It was like, you really drink diet soda? Like that's what my mom drinks. Like, and the more that I hung around him though, the more I kept drinking Diet Pepsi. And
Really?
now I don't drink Pepsi or Coke at all. It has to be Diet. And it's like,
So he like
converted him. He changed man.
I'll definitely still drink regular Mountain Dew, but in terms of like, I actually do like he said, like Diet Pepsi is probably my go-to in terms of getting like a cola soda.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. You drink a regular now, I'm just like, I like can taste the sugar on my like teeth and stuff. And,
That is true. That is true.
Bro, that's disgusting, dude.
So this next one is basically for the both of you, and I'm gonna get back into like the heartfelt, inspirational. So I'm gonna ask, like, has there been like any major struggles like with in the sport of wrestling, or like growing up and being bullied, for example, or like just like a backstory of like a major struggle throughout your lives? And let's start with Kellen.
Oh man, dude, only one thing popped into my head when you were saying that, and I don't know if it actually answers the question, but for some reason I'll tell it because it did pop in my head, so there must be a reason why. But you was talking about being like bullied and stuff, and I thought, no, I didn't get bullied. I didn't have hardships, but I didn't like the person I was when I was in high school. I didn't like how, to a T, I don't want to paint myself with people who don't know me, but I don't want to paint myself that I was like an asshole or a dick. But I didn't see everyone's perspective in life. I could have been nicer. Okay, so I didn't really like it, and so that was not a struggle per se when I got into college to try to change my personality and kind of form, because then I was humbled by it wasn't just so that I came in with and I got humbled by wrestling, but I just met a lot of different people that I've never been exposed to before when I got down to South into college, and it just turned me. I have a way different personality than I was when I was younger. I love seeing people for the first time that I haven't seen since maybe 6 years ago, and I kind of talk to them kind of like my time to show off, to show them I'm way better, I'm a way more genuine and
Yeah.
thoughtful and nice and a nicer person than I was maybe that I came off as when I was younger. So I think that was just, I don't even know if that answered your question, but
It
I said
does.
it.
Yeah, and honestly, that was awesome, Kellen. Because honestly, I shared this story on our first episode. Actually, last month, my bully from high school, somebody that always picked on my stutter, actually called me last month and like just said how sorry he was and like how he like feels terrible now. And I took that and was like, hey, listen, man, that takes a shit like a shit ton of balls to like just call me up and say like, hey man, I am sorry for doing that, and honestly it like made me and him feel better. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
what I hate to say, just because there's going to be more people that don't know me and hear them like, oh, you're a bully. But it was more so that if I really look back, I think it's everything time. Like, as we know, every bully or somebody that's mean, it's all rooted with insecurities.
Yep.
So if you feel insecure, you got to put other people down, just so in the perception of other people, you are on a different pedestal as people. So I think maybe rooted, that was it. But I mean, I wasn't a dick or an asshole to people. I could have been nicer. I could have seen things from all perspectives. I could have been more compassionate when I didn't understand things of certain people's views and stuff.
So yeah, Hayden, any major struggles on or off the mat, honestly?
I mean, I can definitely relate to what Kellen had said, and just I think growing up in an area where everybody looks the same, and there's a very distinct kind of attitude towards things. I definitely learned a lot as I went to college about how to see things from other perspectives. That was a huge lesson that I definitely learned, and I never realized how privileged I was growing up the way that I did. Um, and so I think I always knew that growing up, but I didn't really put myself in other people's shoes. And so I can definitely resonate with Kellen said. And I think, that ties hand in hand into when I probably struggled the most. My first year that I was in college, I really enjoyed my time, but, I dealt with the struggle of not being a starter. I had a redshirt year, just like, most of the other guys did. I got a jet plane.
Oh, like, is that a firework going
Sorry
on?
about that. There's a jet plane flying overhead. AC 130 above.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, getting back into that, I mean, I struggled a lot with my identity in terms of, what am I if I'm not wrestling at a high level, and I kind of had to, deal with some struggles like that. And I know my first year, I could have been a starter, but the coach's plan for me was to take a redshirt year, learn from others, and then they'll utilize me whenever they need me the next year. But during that time, it was really hard for me to accept, just because I'd found some success on the redshirt circuit, and I knew that I was training at a high level, and I didn't feel like I was getting a whole lot out of it. And so during that time, I actually struggled with my weight a lot. Um, I talked earlier about how I was really in touch with my weight, and I was a good weight cutter. And my freshman year, that wasn't the case at all. I would balloon up. I would get so stressed out during these weeks because, there was 3 starters on the team that wanted me for private workouts. I would be doing extra with the RTC. I'd be, lifting 4 to 5 days a week, more than the other guys. And it was like, it started to take a toll on my body. And so how I kind of coped with it was I would eat, and I would just like completely yo-yo my weight up and down. And so there was a point during my first year there that I was, 183 pounds. And there was times where I was like, I don't know how in the world I'm ever going to make 157, but, fast forward it to the summer where I'm getting ready to be the starter, and just things started to kind of click for me of like, all right, I'm realizing my role in the team now. And I think a lot of that to do with that first year as well was just getting over the homesick, I think, kind of feelings. Um, you know, I really enjoyed being around my family during tough times. And, you know, whenever I was going through that struggle of, all right, I'm not a starter on this team when I know that I could be, you know, they weren't always there at that, you know, they weren't always going to be in Raleigh for me. And so I think getting over that year was definitely a struggle. Once I started getting my body healthier and I started getting to a weight that I was happy with, you know, I was much happier in terms of my overall, you know, level of enjoyment being a college athlete.
Yeah.
Because I think the weight thing was such a big thing for me. I would look at myself in the mirror and I just wasn't really happy with who I would see. And even though people all the time would say, "Oh, I would love to have your body," I just wasn't able to think about it like that. And so I had some body image issues that first year, just,
Yeah.
you know, getting to a proper, you know, weight where I knew I could train my best and I knew where I felt healthiest. That was a big thing for me to overcome. And even though it was a difference of 12 pounds, it felt like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders when I could get to a weight that I was comfortable with.
Yeah. What changed, like, from your freshman year, to your sophomore year, like, with the whole weight thing?
I think, to be honest with you, it was finding a structure and just finding a schedule that I could keep to, because I was doing it pretty willy nilly. And like I said earlier, I was yo-yoing my weight. I would go, you know, my weight would fluctuate like 18 pounds in a week, and it was like that can't be healthy.
Yeah.
And I would just I really wanted to get to a weight where I knew I could train at. And right now, I know that my gap where I love to train at is like 166 to like 169, and I always try to stay in there. And I don't do anything crazy to stay there. I just know that I know how my body feels. I'm able to kind of regulate it that, and I know that I'm happiest and I'm training at the best whenever I'm in this weight range.
Yeah.
And so finding the science behind that was important. Finding a schedule that I could keep to in order to, you know, stay at that level, that was the biggest thing for me. And that just comes with experience. You know, you're always going to have a pretty rough first year in terms of finding out what's the best way to cut weight, what's the best way to do your diet. And it took me a little bit longer than I would have liked to figure it out. But once you get it, you know, I think that helps out so much.
Yeah. And yeah, honestly, it does. Just like having like that structure, you know, for the proper weight loss. And you know, I'll let Tyler and Kellen hop in after I ask this. So Hayden, what is your main goal for next season?
I think I have another plane overhead, but I think it's heading out. But
Yeah, I can hear it.
funny. I'm actually at the beach right now, and so a lot of like the fighter jet pilots, they do their training right along the coast here in North Carolina. And so what you hear above head are those like fighter jets that you see in like Top Gun and movies like that.
Top Gun.
Nice.
Yeah, and so there's been a bunch of them this week, but it's cool though.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, the biggest goal for this season, I try not to just focus solely on what everybody thinks it is, and it's an NCAA title is what the ultimate goal is. But I try to look at it from all angles. I try to look at it as, how can I be the best leader I can be for a team where I know we can make a push at a national title and definitely a team trophy. How can I be the best teammate? How can I be the best brother? How can I improve my game to reflect, you know, who I am as a person? I think those are the things that drive me the most. You know, I hope when I go out and wrestle, it shows the character that I have and kind of gives an overall sense of, all right, wow, I can tell what he does and, you know, behind the scenes. That's what motivates me the most. That, you know, my family motivates me to be the best I can be. So for like one goal, I just always try to envision everything that I do is giving my best effort. That's what drives me the most. And, you know, would my parents be happy with the way that I train today? But I guess that's a funny way to word it. But, you know, I just definitely try to, that's the overall goal is I know that, you know, things can go wrong in this sport and not everything can happen the way you want it to. But I mean, if I put my best effort, I'm not going to worry about what happens.
Man, Hayden is a wise man, man. I was not expecting this, man. His wise words of wisdom are just top notch.
What's up with my chopped liver?
Hey,
Now
I
you
didn't see that,
transition
but
to
after Hayden tells a nice story, and then I hear from Kellen, bullshit. I mean, it's tough. It is tough to rank y'all.
Dude, remember my story about the rearview mirror?
Yeah.
You did have the story. So I guess the
Short-term memory. Jeez.
transitioning here to you, Kellen. What are your future goals and plans now that you have, graduated from NC State? You said you're doing, your master's work and everything. So what do you plan to do going forward?
Dude, I don't even know. It's seriously to be immediately you say to be a better version of yourself tomorrow. But what does that mean? I think that means maybe making a new connection, whether it's in the business world, making a new friend, maybe just having people always try to do like that one good thing for somebody. But now that I work for this painting and services company, I see 20 to 30 new people every day now. So I think it's a lot easier for me to use my resource to give a compliment, just be, because what am I going to do? I don't practice anymore. I don't have a way to have a direct impact like on a varsity lineup of a D1 wrestling team. So how do I make an impact now? It's just a normal average Joe on the street. So I think that's still part of me finding my new identity.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And honestly, sorry, Tyler, but honestly, I kind of had like that same struggle. After graduating from Edinburgh, I kind of felt lost. Like, hey, man, I'm not competing anymore because I love competing. Like, I played baseball, football. I ran track my senior year. I love playing sand volleyball or spike ball or backyard basketball. Or I just always loved competing. So once that finally ended, I felt lost. And now, obviously, I am coaching a college team, but man, I was definitely in that stage of feeling like an average Joe. So
You gotta find yourself again. It's like something that you've been doing for so long. It's now over. So now that thing doesn't define you as much. Like it doesn't encompass like your whole time. So you just gotta who am I? What defines me as a person still?
And I tell you what, I absolutely love it, and I am in such a good spot that very fortunate of where I am. I have my first job. I'm making money. I am around people every day that I genuinely like and love. Healthy family. I have no complaints. I am so, at least some people when they end their collegiate career, maybe they're sad or that they feel lost identity. I am on the other spectrum. I'm excited. I am so happy and excited for the future.
That is awesome to hear. So Kellen, are you planning on helping out at a high school coaching or no?
So right now
Wait, I just spilled it?
I can't speak too loud.
Uh-oh.
But as of right now, I am planning on completing my master's and then becoming a teacher. So
In Buffalo.
Yeah, so there's a pension system in New York, and you can be inducted into this pension system as long as you're employed by the state. So I want to get into that pension system as soon as possible, which would mean this upcoming wrestling season I need to be an official wrestling coach. So I found a high school around here that I'm going to coach for next year.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Tyler, do you have anything else for our man Kellen here?
Well, bro, I'm doing privates and stuff. I'm running 4 days a week every night.
Yeah,
I'm running the.
Same with me.
Yeah, I'm doing practices 4 days a week, and on Saturday and Sundays I run privates for these kids. And so I'm in the middle of I'm in some talks with some companies right now. I'm making some merchandise and everything, and really branding myself.
Buy some.
There you go.
They're gonna look. It's gonna be fly. It's gonna be fresh.
Have that on the show.
You should see my logo. It's pretty. Hey, did I show you it? I showed you it.
It's really nice.
It's pretty good.
Super slick.
I didn't think of it. My buddy did, and I didn't create it either. My other buddy created it on the internet, but I'm repping it.
There you go.
I can't wait to see it. Sneak peek or
It will premiere soon.
Wait, what'd you say?
It will premiere soon.
All right, I'm excited for the sneak peek of it.
Yeah, rep it. Let everybody else see it. We'll add a link to purchase onto the video. You know.
Oh shit! Look at this.
That's a good idea.
See, this is what I talk about every day: make new connections and everything.
Yeah,
Be awesome.
absolutely.
I think that's pretty much goes through all my questions I've got until we get to the speed round.
Well, you have to ask Kellen the one question.
Oh, the one question.
The big one.
So, Sam tells me that you spent quite a bit of time hanging out with the fam there during the summers. So I got to ask, how did you come to know the Recos? And can you just talk a little bit about your time there hanging out with them during the summers?
So what's the question? How was it spending my summers there?
Yeah.
Spending your time.
Okay, let's be honest here. At first, it sucked because
Why?
these guys were
Sure.
bullied.
Tell him.
Yeah, you want to talk? I talked about me being a little bit of a hard ass when I was in high school. Okay, so they live in the. I'm scared of every animal, every insect in the world. I'm scared of half of the breeds of dogs that walk the earth. Okay, but I would go, and they live an hour away from me. We'd go train. We'd do privates in their pole barn that they built, and then I would, stay the weekend, maybe stay 2 nights, and then leave. And we did that pretty regularly. But the first few fucking times I went out there, I mean, there was one time when they found out my biggest fear are snakes. And I get very uncomfortable even talking about them, but it's not a gimmick, it's nothing. And they had like this, I swear to God, it would be like the real fake snake you've ever seen in your life. They would, in the middle of the night, come and these guys, they since they were babies, they were playing in the wilderness, and they love everything. They got this fake snake, and they're like, at one point, it was the middle of the night, and I was on a top bunk, and they throw the lights on. They go, "We got a snake," and I'm naive. I'm like, ah! And I'm like, "What the fuck, no!" And then they go, "We're gonna throw it on your bed," and I'm like, "You better not." And I run down the ladder, and I get into the common area, and their parents' bedroom is right where the living room is, and I'm like squatting I'm like squatting in a stand, and we got this snake. I'm like got the coffee table between us, and I'm like, dude, if you step one fucking step towards me, I'm going and waking your parents up. This is like 2 in the morning, and I go, get that thing away from me. And at this point, they're still waving around. I think it's real. And I'm like, I will wake your dad up right now. And dude, I'm like in 6th grade. I'm pissing myself. I got a stream going down to my ankle, and they are all laughing. They go, "Oh my God, it's fake! It's fake! It's fake!" And then I had to like calm my heart. Like my heart rate's beating right now, thinking about putting myself in those shoes again. So at first it sucked. They would do that, and I had to like let them know this ain't no game. This snake thing ain't no game. So then once they stopped bullying me at night, it ended up turned into a good friendship, and their parents were like my parents. Their dad played no games, told me how it was. Honest opinion, every time I talked to him. Mrs. Greco, Mindy, cooked the best food, was a mother to me, always asked about how school was going, how my friends were doing every time I'd see them, because I usually see them on like the weekend. So she would always recap. She knew my friends, asked me how my relationships were going and everything. It was a cool little thing we got going on.
Nice.
And honestly, I was planning on sharing that snake story, so it makes it so much better how you actually started it. But before I go into the speed round, I'm gonna say this: that I have a short story. My only car crash ever, Hayden and Tyler. My only car crash ever.
My God.
Is when I backed into his father's car in our driveway. I swear to God. It was pitch black, and I didn't even see it because his dad's car. Like
you mean my mom's brand new Lexus?
Oh, see, it was a
Minor
brand new
details.
And man, I just put it in back up, and man, I was like, holy shit, I am dead. I'm dead.
You still know my dad. My dad didn't say anything to your parents or anything. He just ate that bill and says, "I'm not going to get Sam in trouble. It's fine."
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
and man, I was so thankful for that because my dad was pissed at me.
bro, I'm pretty sure it was like thousands of dollars.
Well, come on, that like
And you're
I'm
gonna
not
hit him with the
saying
bill
if this happened.
now.
This, dude, you backed up. Like, imagine how fast you go when you normally back up 5, 6 miles. I don't know, but
it was dark.
without any care in the world.
Yeah, I know.
Whoa.
I still feel bad about that. All right, the next segment is a speed round. So, let's go Hayden Kellen. I'll ask Hayden Kellen. Okay. So the first question, Hayden, favorite food after weigh-ins? Go.
Peanut butter bagel with honey on top and a banana on the side. That's the go-to.
That sounds pretty good right there.
That's a good one, Kellen.
It's cheeseburger.
Come on.
Can't
After
go
weigh-in.
wrong.
That was my speed run. I heard favorite food, cheeseburger popped in my head.
Well,
I'm not,
see,
that's a speed run. It's supposed to be instinct. I'm sorry.
my next question was favorite food outside of wrestling season.
Cheeseburger. Go. Next one.
Cheeseburger.
Hayden, you?
I'm really big on sushi.
Really?
Yep.
I'm not.
Fried sushi, any kind of sushi. I'm really big on it. That's my favorite.
Sam, we gotta turn you to the dark side, dude. Sushi's where it's at.
Do you like it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is not my thing. Hayden, favorite wrestling move?
A well-executed lefty high crotch.
Woo! Oh, nice, Kellen.
A real easy front headlock spin behind.
Which was, man, that little snap front headlock or slide by was your go-to in high school, man. Always.
Got me a scholarship.
Yeah. Hayden, who's the best coach in sports? College, pros? Who's the best coach?
I think even though it pains me to say it, it's probably Bill Belichick. My Eagles were able to get a win over him, but I just think the overall level of accountability he was able to set won him so many games, and it's hard to pinpoint a success to one person. And I think that's a pretty good trait to have as a coach. And they just were able to win in so many ways that even though I don't really like them a whole lot, it's pretty impressive the way that they've been able to create that winning culture.
Absolutely. Kellen?
First person that popped in my head, because I'm being honest here. I listened to your question when you asked Hayden, but I keep the same answer. First person that popped in my head was Donnie Vincent, our assistant coach at NC State Wrestling.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think I'm right on this, but his senior year at Binghamton, he lost the first match and came back and placed third, right?
It wasn't his senior year, but yeah, I think that was his junior year.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that is so impressive. Because AJ Schott from Edinburgh did the same thing his senior year. Lost, and then came back and pinned 4 people, which is so impressive. But
Insane.
the next question, Hayden, who's your favorite professional athlete?
I would say, oh man, I really like watching golf, and I think Webb Simpson's my favorite golfer. Not a lot of people know him, but he's just very consistent, but just very simple. But I just really like watching the sport of golf, and I like watching him, and obviously Tiger Woods as well. But I guess in other sports, I'm a big Eagles fan for football, and so I really appreciated the way that Fletcher Cox played. He's a defensive lineman. I really liked him, and Malcolm Jenkins as well. I really enjoy following everybody on the Eagles, but those are probably two of my favorite players.
Kellen?
Honor. I got him tatted.
Oh, going with Conor McGregor. Now let's talk about him, because I always hated him, as obviously I've shared with you, but
Yeah, you have. Why are we doing this?
But I honestly think he's a changed man. And after he shoulder knocked Cowboy a few times, man, he just seems more composed, more mature. And I actually like Conor now. So if that makes you feel good.
I love Conor.
Anything else to say about him?
Next question.
All right, sir. All right, Hayden. Other than you, who is the best overall wrestler, pound for pound wrestler in folk style or freestyle? Who do you think?
That I've wrestled, or just right now in the
Yes,
world?
like now in general, any weight class.
Jaden Cox. I don't understand the way he's able to do things.
Great athlete.
He, I mean, the Matrix for a reason, but there's so much more to his game. It's just like he knows what spots he needs to get to, and like even spots that he gets in so many of these sequences that I don't see before, but it looks like he's been in them his whole life. So it's like the way he must train just must be, he must go through these specific positions and just know he's better at it than everybody else. And that's just crazy to me. Like, even talking to my younger brother, he actually trained with him one time
Oh,
when
really?
they were out at a camp and at the Olympic Training Center, and he's just like, it didn't matter what I did, it felt like his legs could disappear at any given second. And like, you watch him wrestle these guys at the world level and just kind of embarrass them just with his defense. And I don't know, dude. He is a freak, but I mean, he is intuitively one of the best wrestlers I think right now. And with that combination, I mean, he's got a huge ceiling, and I think he probably is an Olympic champion this year.
Yeah, I think so too. Kellen?
I would say Dake.
Yeah.
I would say Dake, and I think I was just actually talking to my boss and friend during work today, and with the Penn State stuff that's coming out,
Yeah.
and like those documentaries on flow and the statistic, we were just like, we recapped, David Taylor, and he's renowned as like the best Penn State wrestler ever. He had only 6 decisions in his college career, and then all 6 decision wins, and he eventually avenged those 6 decisions and made them bonus wins like after. And it's just like crazy. And like, we're reading off the stats he did. Oh my God. Well, think about how good Dake must have been. You know what I mean? So, like, once you use that, like, use somebody else to catapult your success, and then you see him now on the ladder and getting success. And I know, like, when he was a few years ago, getting a little bit younger, was behind Burroughs, and he had to bump up and was at Jaden's weight, but he's given up size and everything. And Jaden's a huge, he's a huge dude. And you have those battles with someone, I don't know, put him on a scale. How much was he giving up? Like, in size, he couldn't finish shots because of the size, I think, and stuff. So I just think Dake.
I'm ready to watch that match with him and Chamizo. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. When is that?
It's like at the end of July, I think.
July, something like late July, I think.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. But on like this topic, I'm gonna favor Hayden but honestly, our country is probably the strongest it has ever been in wrestling. And I could say Jordan Burroughs, Dake, David Taylor, or Kyle Snyder, but I think if I was asked that question, I would probably say Cox too, because honestly, he's such a great athlete, and he just moves his bodies like I have never seen before. Like, honestly, I think Jaden Cox could start in the NFL as like a linebacker, man. He's a stud. Okay, next question. Let's start with Hayden. Favorite movie?
Oh boy. I've got like a running list of the films that I like the most. Some of them are a bit ridiculous, but the movies that I've probably watched the most, I've probably watched The Wizard of Oz the most out of any movie ever.
Here we go.
That was just a movie that I just gravitated to as a child, and I've watched it since, and I love everything about it. But also, I love the Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser.
Yes.
Nice.
I do too.
So those
Emo Tech.
I like, me and my younger brother, we've got to the point now where we can pretty much rehearse the entire movie, and I don't know, that's just, I find it a little bit funny, but I just really like it.
Dude, and those bugs just crawling in your skin, freak me out.
I'm a little scared of
But in terms of like what an actual good movie is, like, I think Inception and Interstellar are probably my 2 favorite of like, wow, these were out of this world creative, and just the production value at it. Those are 2 of my favorites probably.
Yeah, man. My first time watching those, and I would say even more so really Interstellar. My first time watching that in the theater, dude, I was blown away, because like it was so, complex, and like just a great storyline, and the like time changing traveling, dude, it was awesome.
And if like it takes a serious movie to get me to actually feel something, just because like it's hard for me watching movies to be like, wow, this makes me emotional. But like, I mean, Matthew McConaughey breaking down like during that part in Interstellar where, you know, he's watching his kids grow old and them basically leaving him. That is as gut wrenching as it gets, I think, for me.
Yeah, same with me. Kellen, how about you? Your favorite movie?
So I can't keep going after Hayden like that. Mine's super bad.
Ah.
You guys are getting all like intellectual and shit. Super bad. I can't go 30 seconds. One, it's a continuous 2-hour smile on my face, and then every 30 seconds I actually laugh. So it's that, and that is an ever smidge above Step Brothers, but super bad.
And see, if like somebody asked me that question, I would probably say Django Unchained. Or have y'all seen 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri? No, man. Woo. It is with the lady from Fargo, Frances McDormand.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding acting. Tyler, how about you? Your favorite movie?
I'm a big fan of The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with the classic like The Lion King or Twister. Those are
right on.
Oh no.
And then yeah, probably The Wizard of Oz, like what he said, because growing up, it was my dad's favorite movie, so we watched it a bazillion times every time it was on. Got pictures of like the actual like I think it's actually in North Carolina where it's like the old like amusement park where you can now like go through and do tours and stuff.
Really?
So, yeah. So that's probably my top ones.
I've already given too many answers for what your favorite movie is, but I think if there's one movie that I will always watch, it's Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. I will always watch it no matter whenever it's on. I think that's probably.
That is a good answer. All right, next. Kellen, favorite TV series?
Seinfeld.
Oh my God,
Okay.
such an underrated, and it's not even underrated, but like not many people our age.
I don't think about it anymore.
It's so
I,
good.
like, forgot.
I've seen
That just popped into my head, bro. And if I put a little bit more thought into it, it would literally be Seinfeld, The Office, Two and a Half Men, and those are probably my top 3.
Hayden, how about you? Favorite TV series?
Favorite TV series by far is Mad Men. And then
So good.
I guess like a humorous one that I'll always watch is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So those are the 2
Yes,
go-tos.
my favorite comedy, Hayden. My favorite comedy show is It's Always Sunny. I love it.
Yep.
I would put it over The Office, which not many people agree with, but I do.
No.
You just have to be a little bit edgy, I guess, to have it over The
Yes.
Office, and that's cool with me.
All right, next question. And I've been waiting this whole podcast to finally talk about it, man, because this last fall, Kellen sent me a text message, right? Probably the best text I have ever gotten. Hayden's top 10 favorite.
I would hope your favorite text was like some nudies or something.
Whoa. I can't talk about that on the show.
But you're saying your best text ever was from some dude in North Carolina.
He's got it printed out and framed on his wall.
I said my favorite text.
Well, you don't get any nudies?
I'm trying to be entertaining. So this text said, I know 2 people that are probably the smartest in the music world. And Kellen said me and Hayden. So this like text popped up of Hayden's top 10 favorite bands or artists. So Hayden, who's your favorite band?
Favorite band of all time, it won't ever change, is Neil Young and Crazy Horse. It could be Neil Young as an individual artist, but it's him, and then there's a huge step below what my second would be, but I'll always think of him as my favorite. It can be just him. It can be him with Buffalo Springfield, him with Crazy Horse.
Buffalo Springfield, they're good live. Really good live.
Yep. And, definitely by far my favorite.
Kellen, favorite band or artist? And I think it's Eminem.
Come on.
Yeah.
Next question.
All right, sorry. So my next question, Hayden, favorite Metallica song and album?
Favorite album I think is Ride the Lightning. I mean, it changes a little bit. It's just their stretch of I mean, you even include their first album, Kill 'Em All, to Ride the Lightning, to Master of Puppets, to And Justice for All. That
Black
4 album
album.
stretch is so good that, I mean, I personally like the Ride the Lightning album just because of some of the songs in there. I guess For Whom the Bell Tolls was my walkout song for this year's matches, and so I probably have to go with that because, I mean, the first minute of that song, you can get me to do a lot of things I wouldn't do if you put that song on.
Yes. Honestly, every time I like hear that
yeah.
song for some reason, like it puts me into a different zone. Like it is that song. And honestly, that album, Ride the Lightning, like with Fade to Black, Trapped Under Ice, Creeping Death, it's so good.
Yeah, there's very few songs where you're like, I guess I don't need to listen to this. Like, you can just let it listen all the way through and be like, all right, now I'm ready to fight somebody.
No skips used on that one.
No.
So, Kellen, your favorite Eminem song and album is what?
You're trying to tell me to pick between my favorite children.
Which you don't have.
I'd imagine it'll be tough when I do. I don't know. Probably at the end of the day, just because of meaning, effortlessness, the verb. I have to go When I'm Gone.
That's a good song.
When I'm Gone, and probably favorite album, Eminem Show.
Eminem Show. That's probably second to me because honestly, for some reason, I like the Marshall Mathers LP too. I don't know why, but
I don't know why either.
love that album.
He's got good stuff on it, but like
I don't think I could
just
put
when
it
he
above
was
that
out,
one.
no,
What do you
2002.
think?
For me, I would go probably Eminem Show, and then maybe Recovery, like right up there. I really like that one a lot.
Okay.
So if
Bro, Sam, and I know verses and songs that people have never even heard of by him. I mean, I know all the lyrics of songs people never, and I have to tell you, still with knowing everything and all the background, my favorite song would still have to be one of his most popular songs of When I'm Gone.
yeah, and honestly, that's a great story. Like just a great story behind it. I can see a Hayden shadow. It looks pretty cool. So I am trying to think of the other bands that Kellen was sending, and I think I saw Van Halen in your top 10, Hayden.
I don't think I put Van Halen in my top 10.
Dude, and maybe Slipknot. No,
No, I didn't put
I'm
Slipknot.
no. See, I was kidding, but I did see. I'm trying to think. AC/DC.
I don't even think I put AC/DC in there, to be honest with you.
Man, you were shooting and missing, Sam.
Yeah.
Bro, why don't you brush up on your facts, Sam?
Huh? Well,
You
I mean,
should
I
brush
can't
up.
go back and see the text, but man, I could have swore that I saw AC/DC and Van Halen and stuff like that. Like, got me excited, or else I wouldn't have brought it up. But I did see, obviously, these guys at number 2, I thought. So that's what got me the most excited.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back at probably what I sent, and it was probably
Good
Neil
Dave
Young, Metallica, Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Dave
Eagles
Matthews.
are probably up there. Dave Matthews Band. And then you're starting to get into stuff like Megadeth and I don't
You
know.
don't
Right?
like them, huh? With Dave Mustaine, I just don't like him. I don't know.
That's one of those things where it's like I didn't really know a whole lot about them, and then you start getting into Metallica more and just start to see the kind of crossover with Dave Mustaine and Megadeth, and I'm just completely in on them now.
Yeah.
It's like whenever I listen to For Whom the Bell Tolls, I get the same exact feeling for In My Darkest Hour by Megadeth. It's like if you put that song on, I may do some things I'm going to regret the next day.
That's hilarious. And yeah, I think my favorite album from, freaking Metallica would probably be the Black Album. And it is probably their most popular album, but I love Sad But True, Sandman, Rome, Nothing Else Matters, Unforgiven. I would probably put that as my top one. But yeah, I mean, going back to this, their streak of just putting out banger albums is probably at the top of just back to back to back roll, man.
Yeah, I think just in the late 80s too is whenever there was a big just cultural diffusion of music going into the 90s. That's when kind of grunge starts picking up.
Yeah.
I mean, like hip hop is becoming more popular, but like whenever I see videos of Metallica playing in Seattle in like '89,
Yeah.
I actually want to go
Playing
back in
one.
time and just so I can be there.
Yeah.
Just because they're just completely soaking wet on the stage and just like looking absolute like maniacs. And I just want to go back in time so I can just sit in the crowd and just listen to it all because it's incredible how big of a run they went on, and that was kind of like peak Metallica, where it's like literally every single kid in America is probably like showing up to football practice blaring Master of Puppets in their car, and just like
Yeah.
even the parents are like, "Holy shit, this is actually pretty good too." And
Yeah.
so I just think
I,
I wish that was such a stretch where I'm just fascinated by him and seeing the old videos, and
yeah.
even now like I've seen them in concert, and it's a little bit different now. It's kind of like there's not as much people that like to listen to it, but I mean it's just really cool to look back and watch those old videos.
Yeah, I saw them 2 years ago in Pittsburgh, PA, and man, it was awesome. I loved it. And Tyler saw him too in like
I
Georgia,
did
maybe.
actually. That's the poster back there from Atlanta in 2017 at SunTrust Park. So I had to get it framed afterwards.
Man, I just love him so much. So the last thing before I tell y'all thank you for coming on and thanks for being great guests. I just want both of y'all to share like a inspiring message because obviously the like times right now are not looking good in this country for many reasons, and I think people are kind of down in the dumps right now, and obviously it's a very depressing time in our country. So like just kind of say something uplifting, inspiring, and I'll start with Kellen.
Fuck. I don't know. Just for the overall summary of the state that everybody's in and the mind state. I know people are struggling for personal reasons, and people are struggling, maybe because the gyms aren't open or they can't go to work, and everyone's situation is different. But you have to put it in perspective. I mean, look at us losing our NCAA tournament. I mean, that's awful. That feels like the world was ending. But then also this virus is taking family members from people. So how bad do we really have it? We didn't get to we didn't get to compete in a wrestling tournament. I mean, people are dying. So I think it's hard. It really does suck. And I'm not trying to discredit people and their feelings, but I think perspective and be thankful for where you are and perspective on certain, whenever you feel things are going tough, maybe just have a little bit of perspective and think that somebody out there has it tougher than you, maybe.
That was good, Kellen. That was very good. Hayden?
I think if there's like one overarching theme about that I've learned this past few months, I think it's you can't always look to people and think, all right, what can you do for me? I think there just has to be a little bit more of looking around and saying, what can I do for you? Because if we continue to spread that level of goodness, that it's going to come back to us in some way. I mean, it can come back to you in a way that you're never expecting it, whether that's from meeting new people or having people share with you what they're going through and then you learning from that as well. And I just feel like over the past few months with this virus and, the racial tensions that we have in this country and just everything that's been going on, I just felt like I've been more in tune to listen to others and put myself in their shoes and trying to see it from their point of view rather than trying to speak my mind first. If I just sit back and listen and gather my thoughts and try to put myself in somebody else's shoes, I feel like I'm way more better off in the end. And, I think I've formed much better relationships with people in these past few months just because of that. And, things aren't going great. And I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to, look and say to yourself, all right, things aren't great. What can people do for me? I think this is a really good time for you to reach out to people that are in need. And, like Kellen said, with perspective thing, there's always people that have it worse. And, you might have it bad, but I do believe that good things come back in one way or another. And that if we can see each other eye to eye and help each other out, that goodness is going to come back to you in some kind of way. So that would be my message. And any like kind of encouragement that I have is right now, I think it's important to support small business. whether that's a family in your hometown or
the Deuce.
maybe like the Devlin's Deuce or Slick Willie's. I just think it's important. That's a step that we can make, is support these small businesses that have kind of had the shaft the past few months, and they haven't been able to do what they do. And also just making sure, people that are receiving injustice in our country, like if you have a black friend or your black teammates or your black community members, if you're reaching out to them and seeing what you can do as a person a little bit better, I feel like in the end, that's just going to create a much better environment for everybody.
Man, Hayden, that was a great message. And that is probably the best way possible I can think to end this podcast. And I thank the both of you for coming on, because it's late on a little thirsty Thursday, and Hayden's on vacation, so I'm very thankful to
taking time out on vacation. Not many people would give that vacation time up.
Yeah, so don't hang up just because I want to talk to y'all after. But hey guys, thank you for all the support, all the love so far. Me and Tyler and the Right Here podcast has reached like 300 likes on Facebook and a lot of shares, a lot of follows, a lot of listens on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, and I just hope to keep growing this podcast and spreading a positive love and message towards our world. And thank you, Kellen. Thank you, Hayden. And you're going to want to tune in right here. Thanks, guys.